Hey guys, it's Zeddy. And semi live. I'm actually taking this, but setting it to private, and then I'll go ahead and set it to public later. But topic of the day, I guess I'm guessing it's a hot take. I think I read somewhere that someone was saying that, um, or actually, no, it's a video from TechAltar that I watched that was showing that Windows was declining and there was a lot of comments there. So it made me start thinking about how I use computers and technology and everything. So got interested into computers when I was in high school. Had my first taste in a computer class, but it was very restricted. It was DOS with a custom menu that only let you launch certain applications. And I didn't know it at the time that there was such thing as DOS or whatever, but it got me interested in computers because of, we got to use word processing and spreadsheets, and I thought that was pretty cool. Didn't realize how expensive they were. And then also when I finally convinced my parents to get one, they were there was it was running Windows, so I was kind of like a fish out of water. Not only that, it was a Packard Bell. So this was back in the day when they were using their custom UI called Packard Bell Navigator. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, or anyone who actually owned a Packard Bell before know what I'm talking about. If you do, let me know what your experience was. I was so confused when I saw Navigator, and I found out how to get into Windows, and still was kind of confused because I've never used Windows before. Um, Took a lot of reading magazines because remember there was no internet back in those days, to basically get used to Windows. And then my next year in high school, we finally had Windows there. But by that time, I was already familiar, and I was already familiar with DOS because a lot of video games was in DOS, and nothing motivates people more, kids, I should say, teenagers, more than video games. Um, which was funny because I promised my parents that, computers can't play games because there's nothing really good on there. And this is because my parents didn't like us playing games. And it took a long time to even convince our parents to get a Nintendo. So, anyways, uh, had to hide games playing from them whenever possible. But yeah, found out you could play games, and there was actually some amazing stuff on there. I honestly, when I told them that, it wasn't a lie. I didn't realize there were any good games on there. The games that I was playing when there were when I that I know about with computers were really low resolution games that were nothing near like Nintendo games. Not the same quality. But of course, computers gotten better, and I was introduced to a lot of games like Commander Keen, Warcraft 2, StarCraft, um, and I was introduced to a lot of games like Commander Keen, Warcraft 2, StarCraft. Um, I didn't even know you had fighting games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter there, which I didn't get a copy of Street Fighter for some reason. The one I finally did get, I did purchase, and it was meh. But Mortal Kombat was actually, and Mortal Kombat 2, by the way, were amazing ports. Very surprised about that. And these were all DOS games. And of course, your traditional, everyone knows, Wolf 3D, uh, Duke 3D, all those cool stuff, and it just spawns from there. A lot of video games is what got me into PCs. And that was it. It was really, for me, a PC was a tinkering machine. I was learning a lot about the base stuff like Windows, DOS. I was, you know, and what spawned it was video games, getting it to work, troubleshooting it, all that cool stuff. Um, a huge contrast to how I use a computer today. Um, I use it for work because I'm a system admin and I work with Windows a lot. It's a Windows, environment. Um, Everything's going cloud, and that was a huge learning curve for me in my career. But other than that, and of course, I'm also learning Linux and using it because I got bored of Windows. But not only that, because Windows really starting to get really annoying. Things like Windows updates being forced on you. Um, a lot of telemetry stuff, adware, a lot of ad stuff and stuff being forced on you. And you even install Windows from scratch. It still has built-in games and stuff they just put on there, which I don't understand. And it's no longer an operating system. It just feels like, I mean, they're pushing messages to you, uh, remember to vote. I remember that, which was surprising. Now, I'm not trying to get into politics or anything, but it's kind of like surprising to see something from your operating system to remind you to register to vote. That's really odd. So, stuff like that made me want to look into Linux. And so computers are still relevant in a way for me that it's part of my work, and I just love tinkering. As far as video games goes, it's I don't play much video games these days ever since Overwatch went to hell. And so I don't even play much games anymore. Uh, so what do I do? I still need to do daily stuff like shopping and paying the bills, right? And all that stuff. Well, if you think about it, that's it. No more traditional computers. I was an iPad user for a long time and I loved it. Uh, Trying something new. This is, as you guys remember, my Galaxy Tab S8, an Android tablet. Android tablets were terrible before. The only good ones was the Nexus series, but then, of course, Google stopped that. I know they came out with the Pixel tablet, but I already paid so much for this. This is not a cheap tablet. It was not a. This is not like the cheap Android tablet that you get at Walmart. So, I did when the Pixel tablet came out. I did not feel the need to buy it. I really want to because I really like the Pixel experience, but I can't justify it. Give me a reason to buy version 2 or version 3, Google. Prove to me that you don't cancel everything like you guys normally do, like with my Nest Secure, which I'm still very mad about. Still in use until they until they shut it off. I think sometime in April or March. I think I don't remember when. But yeah, I I don't play games. I don't, and I don't really mess around with my computer anymore. Don't tinker around with it much. And so when I do need to do stuff, I'm using apps to pay my bill, to order food, to do research. When I want to read about something, when I'm doing research on something I want to buy. Um, I use my Shield TV, which is Android based, to watch TV, to watch Netflix, to watch YouTube, to watch, um, you know, HBO Max and all that cool stuff. Streaming video is it. I don't even have cable anymore. Um, which again, by the way, is odd because I think I told you guys this before. And maybe you guys didn't know if this is the first time you're watching or you just watched only a couple of my videos. I was a huge proponent and user of Windows Media Center, which is PC based. And I thought Microsoft had a good market for that if they would have kept going, but they discontinued it. So that's another reason why I'm moving away from, PC based stuff. And haven't, and I slowly moved. And I didn't even realize that until I had to make this video and reading and seeing that TechAltar uh, video, which I will link on the description below. But my observation with other people in my life, my brother, for example, is not a technical person. Um, as far as I know, he didn't really own any Windows machines. He owned, I think I've given to him secondhand one or two, but he rarely used them. And the only machine that he started using, P computer he was using, started when he was in when he finally went to work, and they gave him a MacBook as his work PC. And before that, he basically had an iPhone and an iPad, and that's all he used for all of his computing needs was an iPad. So that's interesting. So that's a use case. Now, other people I know, like my uncle, not computer savvy, also used Windows, but he still continued using it only because it's just what he knows at this point. Um, People who use Windows that I know are really old school hats. I know one person who's in her 60s that used DOS, not a computer person, just had to do work and had to relearn everything when Windows came out and had to relearn everything when every new version of Windows come out. She had one Mac before. Um, she says she loved it, but whenever she needs help and I looked at it, she has icons all over the place because she just threw everything on the desktop. And when she finally moved back to a PC, she was actually happier with the PC, with Windows 11, believe it or not, with Windows 10 and 11, because it just felt a little more at home, even though it's still not the same as all the previous Windows she's used. But she also owns an iPhone and an iPad, and she only used the PC because her eyesight is not as good. So she makes everything huge, puts it on a big monitor, but she still likes using her iPad when she's sitting on the couch. So again, not a computer user really, just need it to do stuff. People use it as a tool. And if you think of it that way, there isn't a whole lot that Windows is providing. And there isn't a whole lot that a traditional computer, like a desktop PC, where you're anchored in one spot, or a laptop, which even though it's portable, it's cumbersome to use on the couch. Most people don't want to just sit on a desk, you know. Sitting on a desk is signifying real work. And for that, people do use it for that purpose. And I've noticed a lot more people who are using things like the iPads more. And I keep saying iPad because when we say tablet, most people just use an iPad. Everyone I know has an iPad. I am the only one that has an Android tablet because there isn't a whole lot of Android in the tablet space. So I'm hoping that the Pixel tablet will change that. By the way, I'm sorry, this is a ramble, um, not scripted, just things that come to my mind right now. But that's basically the subject matter that I'm trying to breach and talk about is me reminiscing about computers and seeing how things are changing. So we are living in that Star Trek like future where these are our computers, tablets, and phones, and that's pretty much all we really need to do stuff, like most stuff. The only time I actually need to use a computer other than work and games and stuff for personal reasons is if I want to purchase something and I want to do research on it. Now, here's the funny thing. I will start here first. I'll start reading about it. And when I start getting into it, and there was like maybe like 5 things I want to compare, and I have multiple tabs open and flipping over, it starts to get frustrating to do that on a screen like this, and just using your finger. So that's the only time I will move to a computer. And like I said, sitting at a desk signify I'm serious about what I'm doing. And that's it. Once I start on the tablet, it's not that serious. It's just like, oh, I'm just curious about something like a robo vacuum or whatever. Then I was like, oh wow, I'm really interested. I think I might actually want to get one. But there's like 3 or 4 models. Like, which one should I get? These seem very similar. That's when I put my tablet down, plop down in front of a computer like I am right here at a desk, and seriously do research with multiple tabs open. And of course, on the side, with either Notepad or text editor, or actually these days, since everything's in the cloud, I actually have another browser window open with Google Keep on there and keep all of my notes there. So can't really easily do that with a tablet. Even though there's multiple, they're trying their best to do multi-window and multitasking on here, it still doesn't feel as good as on the PC. Plus, I don't know about you guys, but I have multiple monitors. So it makes it a lot easier to do research in your browser and everything on one, and also have another monitor for keeping your notes. And if it's a big enough monitor, I can just have them side by side, which I can do easily on a 27-inch like this one versus this. And this is the plus version. So this is not the smallest version. This is the mid-size version. And I still think it's too small for real work, although slightly too big for taking around the house. I'm used to it now, but um, there was a regular version, a non-plus version. I think I mentioned that I would have. I think was probably a better size for just media consumption. But I got used to it now, so I think this is a good size. I don't want to go smaller. I don't want to go bigger either. But yeah, that's it. Let me know how computing has changed for you, especially for people who have used computers back in the 80s and 90s, especially. And if you go back as far as even the 70s with 8-bit computers like Commodores and Apple, let me know. Because although that was in my life, I was growing up during that time, I did not personally use it. It was not in my wheel space. I've seen Apple IIs in my elementary school, but we only have like one or two in the back of the room. And even then, it's a special occasion where every once in a while we get to use it as a reward for something we did. And even then, there's not much you can do. They gave us games in floppies. Like I remember Oregon Trails, playing that. And some, like not really that fun games, you know what I mean? You boot up to it, you do get the basic on there, Apple Basic. And from there, as a kid, I didn't know what to do there. I think I saw one kid who typed in the Hello World, kind of program. It was literally just you run it and it just shows, print out the text, and he looped it. And once I saw that, I played around with that a little bit, but that's not that fun. It's like, and I didn't know about programming or anything like that. So I kind of wish that would have been my gateway drug into computers then, looking back at it now, but that wasn't the case. My gateway into computers was, of all things, Microsoft Works for DOS in high school, because at that time I was into typewriters. I kind of thought it was kind of cool that I can make things look really neat and professional looking, and I wrote a lot, and so word processors were kind of cool. And those were kind of my favorite assignments, was basically writing things, anything that requires an essay or whatever, and book reports. Yeah, I was a nerd. That's why I like the typewriter, and that's what got me into computers, was I saw word processors, which lets you edit and things, change things, and print all at once and save things on a floppy. So all of my stuff is on a floppy, and I can make copies of it and stuff. So that wowed me. That is what got me into computers. As weird as it sounds, not basic, not programming, not video games. Microsoft works for DOS. So, yeah. All right, guys, I am out. You guys take care now. Bye.